My goal is not to offend. My general purpose is to inform. To inform you that there are intelligible arguments out there about the debate over abortion, whether it be pro-life or pro-choice. But my main goal is for you to see that abortion is an immoral action. First, let's talk about Judith Thomson. Judith Thomson is a renowned philosopher in terms of talking about whether or not you ought to be pro-life or pro-choice. She gives us several different examples. I'm going to talk about two. The first one being the violinist, and the second being human spore. The whole idea behind the analogy of the violinist is to see and to prove that even if a fetus is a person, it doesn't matter, that it is still a right act or a moral act, or even just a passable act in terms of morality, to kill, to allow the fetus to die. So the violinist, there's a world-famous, world-renowned violinist, and they have a blood disorder. And their kidneys cannot continue to clean the blood, to cleanse the blood, and it is slowly killing them. So his followers kidnap you, and they hook you up to him, thus using your kidneys to help clean out his blood to allow him to live. Now, if this were merely an inconvenience of a few days being hooked up to this violinist, then maybe it would be all right for you to allow this to happen. In fact, it would seem to be the right action. But now let's imagine it takes 9 months. Let's imagine it takes years. Because there's no doubt that raising a child and having a baby takes years away from your life, that it can be a huge inconvenience. If this were the case with the violinist, it is all right to unhook yourself if it is that much of an inconvenience. Because you are not killing the violinist. You are allowing the violinist to die. Same with the fetus. You are not killing the fetus. You are allowing it to die. But now let's talk about human spore. With human spore, there is a woman who moves into this town. Dream house where she's always wanted to live. One problem. That spore, human spore, can land in your house and turn into humans. At which point, if this happens, you are then held responsible for raising this human, this child. Now, the woman moves into this house, puts up every single layer of protection she can against a human spore, but one still gets in. It is then not unreasonable for her to say, I did everything I could and this still happened. It is not my responsibility to raise this human. Thus, she is saying that even if you risk pregnancy, that abortion can still be a viable option. Now let's talk about some counter-arguments. First, it really seems that for mere comfort and luxury and convenience, seems an unjustifiable or a shallow and face value justification for an abortion, that it doesn't seem right. Further, what we see here is gamblers. When gamblers risk losing their money, we still expect them to pay off what they have lost. It is not unreasonable then for us to see that a woman or somebody, anybody, who risks pregnancy for pleasure, much like moving to your dream house, should pay the consequences for their actions, because they're doing it for pleasure, much like the gambler does the same thing, and we expect them to pay. But now I'd like to bring up the new argument, a new philosophical argument in favor of pro-choice. This argument comes from Scott Klusendorf, and it is called SLED. He says that there are only 4 main differences between an unborn fetus and a normal human: size, level of development, environment, and dependency. On top of this, he said that these are the only differences, but they are not reason enough to justify killing a fetus, to allow the fetus to die. So what he says here is that size. A fetus is a different size than a normal human. Is that any reason to kill or allow the fetus to die? Shaquille O'Neal is much larger than Hillary Clinton, as he says. But does that allow us then to rightfully kill Hillary Clinton or allow her to die if we could change the events? Level of development. Many people are born without proper functioning hearts and other types of body functions, and many people later on in life lose function in these areas. Is it right to kill them or allow them to die? Environment. You could be born in a cocoon or you could be born in Antarctica. Is that any reason to justify the killing of that individual? Dependent. If you're dependent upon an artificial heart or dependent upon your parents, if you're dependent upon anybody or anything in any other way, does that then justify others in killing you? What I'm really saying here is that if we are totally unsure about the personhood of the fetus, we ought to err on the side of caution in case if it is a human, and err on the side of caution and support pro-choice. Thank you.